When your person is no longer responding to treatments and their health keeps declining, your heart knows. Your heart knows change is coming. It's already morning, but your mind, it scrambles because no one taught us these words, anticipatory grief. It might seem obvious that you'd be feeling a lot right now, but most people don't recognize this as grief. And why would we? Who taught us about this phenomenon? Instead, the message is, think positive, pray for a miracle. Don't say anything you wouldn't want your loved one to hear. But here's the truth. We can want to live and fight for every day that we have and still acknowledge anticipatory grief. Naming it doesn't bring death closer. It doesn't cancel hope. What it does is give us a way to understand the storm that's already happening inside, so it stops wreaking havoc in silence. Textbooks will tell you anticipatory grief means grief before the loss happens. That's true, but the definition stops there. In real life, this time becomes many families' worst nightmare. Why the disconnect? Because when treatments stop working, we've entered a new time period, one that could last decades or just days, and you never know until the end. This time period is hazy. Leadership is weak. Doctors don't always name it. Families don't want to scare each other. Everyone is looking at one another, silently asking, do you feel this too? Even when the word terminal is used, it's often followed only by another last-ditch treatment plan, never by a roadmap for what comes next. But here's the reality. For anything important in life, we make a plan A, plan B, even plan C. So why not here? We need that same kind of plan for this in-between time, because winging it doesn't work. And when no one names it, families are left feeling alone. That silence is another casualty. And that's exactly what I want to tackle with you today. Let me tell you about Doug, an end-of-life doula I was mentoring. When treatment stopped working for a client he was supporting, he watched the family spiral. Not because their person was dying, they weren't yet, but because no one had named what they were experiencing. There were tears and fear, silence, no new plan from the doctor, no counseling from the medical staff, just sad faces as they left that last clinic visit. So Doug shared with them, this complicated mix of feelings you're having, it has a name. We call it anticipatory grief. It's normal. It can show up in many ways, and we'll unpack it together as it comes. The caregiver let out an audible sigh of relief. She said, at least now I know this is a thing. It's not just me being too sensitive. That's the power of naming it. Because anticipatory grief isn't just sadness. It can be fear and anxiety and guilt, even shame wrapped up in it. It shows up in the body too. Tight chest, fatigue, even nausea, insomnia. And it affects relationships. You might be withdrawing, feeling on edge, snapping at people you love. And here's what I want to emphasize. Anticipatory grief is normal. It's valid, and it's particularly common for caregivers. And it's not only about death. It shows up with other big life changes too. So over 20 years of serving doulas and families, here's what I've learned with thousands of people. They don't see it as a pathology at the end of the day, after being guided and coached and worked with and talked with. They come to see it as a preparation, a hidden gift of time. One doula told me, anticipatory grief gave me the space to recognize and thank my father for the love I had taken for granted. So could naming this grief change our experience? Could talking about it soften what's coming? What if we received it as a signal? Waves that come and go, pointing us back towards what matters. I saw this in another family I worked with. The dying person had chosen to continue dialysis, even beyond what doctors expected. He loved life, and he wanted to stay as long as he could. But he carried anxiety, when will I know it's time to stop? Once his doctor explained the signs to watch for, and the family faced it together, the atmosphere shifted. Anxiety gave way to connection. Those side conversations and whispers, stopped. No one needed to hide anymore. And that time, instead of being marked by fear, became marked by closeness. Coping strategies that really work during this time, when anticipatory grief is a known visitor, is seek support for sure. Number one, these feelings are complex, so talking to someone helps figure out what's going on. Use a phone timer as a self-soothing cue. Every couple of hours when it goes off, take a minute to rest. Another thing is acknowledge your feelings. They're going to be all over the place. That's anticipatory grief. Name them. Next thing, move your body. Anxiety lives in the body, and a lot of anxiety comes with anticipatory grief. It's woven into it. So walking, stretching, dancing, all of that helps to release it. And one practice that really works well for me when I'm going through this is I'll set my alarm a few times during the day. And when it goes off, I stop and I ask myself, what do I need right now? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I sad? Am I holding my breath? Then I give myself what I need in that moment, and I keep on going. I usually don't have time to do much else, because when I'm caregiving, if it's somebody that I love is dying, I'm busy, right? That's the whole point that people will say, I'm too busy, I can't do anything. Well, it takes a moment. And here's the deeper truth. What if anticipatory grief could actually prevent regret? What if it's a signal to say more I love yous, I see you? Therapists will tell you anticipatory grief is universal, not just around death, but divorce and illness, moving far away. And refusing to name it leaves us isolated. But naming it, it can connect us. It does connect us. I want you to ask yourself, how could naming this grief shift your journey? And if you're a doula, how are you going to help your families face it with compassion and skill? Anticipatory grief isn't failure in positive thinking. It's not weakness. It's proof you're human. And after speaking with thousands of people, I've realized when we give this grief a name, we give ourselves permission to live with it, not just around it. That space between hope and goodbye isn't empty. It's sacred. If this landed, drop a comment like, what are your words for anticipatory grief? How do you describe it? I help families through this in-between time with our family journey service, and I train and certify end-of-life doulas to guide others through all of this too. Subscribe if you want more conversations about the in-between time and about accompanying the dying. See you soon.